Hi, and welcome to Quilt Week in Paducah, Kentucky. I'm Michelle Duffy, Editor-in-Chief of American Quilter magazine. I'm here with Roseanne Smith. Her group quilt, the So Whatevers, have made a wonderful, amazing, and really fun quilt called Good Dogs. They're from Lawrence, Kansas. They've won second place in our group quilt, sponsored by Innova. Well, Roseanne, thank you for being here.
Well, it's been a great, fun time being here.
Oh, we love this quilt. It is so much fun. Can you tell us, where did the design inspiration come from?
This quilt started as a donation quilt for our local Humane Society, and the idea was that we were going to do our own dogs. So we brought in photographs of our dogs. One of our members, Barbara Brackman, did line drawings from the photographs, gave those line drawings back to us, and then various members of our group made either their own dog or one of the other members' dogs. So these are all real dogs. It's become a favorite quilt, so we kind of decided we can't give the quilt to the Humane Society, so instead we're going to give the prize money.
That is really generous. That's a nice check. Okay, can you show me, which one's your dog?
My dog is the Collie, and her name is Jessie, and that's kind of it. The rules behind this quilt was that we were going to use the Jane Sassaman bright backgrounds, and then there was to be no white or black. In other words, you had to use some sort of color. So the entire quilt the idea was to have it be fairly bright colors.
Okay, and so in addition to having your block with Jessie in it, you did all the quilting as well?
I did, yes, I did all the quilting. Each block was made by one person. And then I took the blocks, put them together, and did the quilting.
Okay, can you kind of show us, I see that every dog's name is on the block. Can you show us a couple of those?
Sure. Here's Jessie, my dog. This is Max, a nice yellow lab. Here's Dottie, and her eyes kind of portray her personality. Ethel and Lucy, there's Lucy, and this is Ethel. And Ethel and Lucy were really old at the time I made the quilt and actually are no longer with us. And then Sumo, actually, Sumo stands about 3.5 or 4 feet tall. And they had his genetics checked, and it turns out that came back as Chihuahua. So I'm not sure how you have a 3 foot tall Chihuahua, but that's Sumo. Harry's still around, and so is Zoe. Zoe was a Old English sheepdog.
So I'm curious, how long have you been quilting, or how long has the group been quilting together?
I started quilting probably the first quilt I made was in 1975, and I finished it in 1985, so I didn't quilt much during that time. A lot of my members in the group have been quilting a long time. We meet at a local fabric store, Sarah's Fabrics in Lawrence, Kansas, and spend several hours every week there just working on various projects. And the Humane Society is one that we commonly donate something to.
Okay, Roseanne, I'm looking at this block of Dottie, and I love the eyes, how crazy this little wiener dog is. And I noticed the way that you have quilted the tail. It's hilarious. I love the way its tail's going crazy back and forth. Where did that idea come from?
Well, Dottie is kind of a crazy dog, and so that's why her eyes are so swirly. But then her tail wags all the time, so her tail had to be wagging in the quilt. And actually, any of the dogs that have tails, their tails are wagging in the quilt. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. So they come alive. They come right off this quilt. I love that. Okay, so as a group, have you spoken to the other members about the win?
Oh yes, we got the email from Andrea, and I sent it off to everybody else, and so there's been emails flying back and forth, and I did photographs on my phone and sent copies of the photographs to the other members. I'm the only one here this year, but yes, we talked a lot about the quilt.
What are the names of the members of the group, just so that we know everyone who contributed to
So I'm going to have to go by the dog, pretty much, make sure I get everyone in. This is Barbara Brackman's dog, Dottie. This is Wendy Turnbull's dog, Max. This dog belongs to Georgiana Galinsky, and that's Minnie, Roseanne Smith. Ethel and Lucy both belong to Janet Perkins. Sumo is Carol Jones's dog, but this dog was actually done by Georgiana Glinsky. Harry is Georgianne's dog, but was done by Kathy Doherty. Zoe is Wendy Turnbull's other dog, and she also did that dog. The other members are Nikki Listerman and Sarah Feynman, whose store we meet at every week.
Well, thank you, and congratulations to all the ladies. Let me ask you, how long did the quilt take?
Well, I think we started it about 3 years ago, and the blocks were probably done within about 9 months. And so I've had it for about 2.5 years, which was sort of an issue. But I finished quilting it in about December last year.
Okay, and are there any special techniques involved?
Most of this is free motion quilting. I used a lot of different kinds of thread. So there's kind of your standard cotton. There's also rayon thread. There's some metallics. There's some holographic thread that I was trying out for the first time. So there's a little walking foot, straight line quilting, but most of it was free motion quilting on my home machine.
Okay, and what about batting or types of thread? Do you have any recommendations?
I usually use Hobbs 80/20, and that's because I like the way that the cotton quilts, but I like the loft that little bit of polyester gives it. So the relief you see on this quilt is really because of the polyester, but it being mainly cotton makes it quiltable. As far as the thread, I used probably almost everybody's thread. There's sulky in here, there's Mettler, there's probably some YLI, and also Superior. I used a fair amount of King Tut. So I like threads, I like colors, and so it was a fun excuse to use a whole lot of different items.
Okay, so now were the sashing ideas, were these part of, was this a group collaboration on which colors?
There were about 3 of us that got together on what to use for sashing in the borders. And like I said, we meet at the fabric store, so what we were doing was hauling bolts back and putting it up and then going no, taking it away, hauling more bolts back. And we kind of got to where we liked what we had, and then I took it and put it together.
Put it together. Well, it's a wonderful collaboration on all ends. So let me ask you, are you planning another group quilt?
We have one that's almost put together. Most of our group quilts we just donate to an auction, so like an AIDS auction, or fairly often the Humane Society. So this next one I don't know what we're going to do with. It's almost together, but not quilted yet.
Okay, well, I definitely want to encourage you and your friends to submit another quilt as fun and as giving as this quilt is and as your members are.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for being with us, and thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you watching all of these videos at our AQS QuiltWeek in Paducah, Kentucky. We are having a great time here, and we hope you can come next year. Thanks.